Well, guys, I got this car you see here called Carmine, appropriately Carmine. It's Carmine Red. What I got here is a 2026 911 Carrera GTS with the new hybrid system. And, you know, as you get this car, it's something that becomes relative to you. As they integrated that engineering, it's pretty cool. Still a way to get the job done, I guess. Just reminds me of something else, whereas now, you know, this car it's got some engineering in it that's similar to something else that I have that I want to review with you. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this ride. We'll cold start it for you. Like I said, it's a 2026 GTS 911. It's a pretty cool spec, whereas, you know, it's black and red. I mean, I don't see another color except the gold. But black and red is pretty clean. That spec. It ended up with, you know, an aero kit, which is pretty cool. I like the aero kit. Comes with some side spoilers and, you know, let me show you that. So the aero kit, you know, you get side spoilers. I don't know how it ended up gloss. I like it as gloss. Usually I always had black plastic that was, you know, more or less raw, like you see up front, which is nice. You know, that looks pretty good as far as what they got going on there. But the black gloss, we appreciate that. It looks like it's painted. Doesn't look like it would be just like a piece of plastic. And at that point, look, the spec came with the wheels are black gloss. We like that. You know, the red caliper, which keeps things pretty simple. Yes, it's a T hybrid, which is the topic more or less of what it, you know, what it feels like Porsche combined. You know, they got an internal combustion motor and they combined it with some other technology. Look, see, there it is, another shiny black wheel. But basically that aero kit, you know, that you see here, we like it. It's it makes sense, you know, whereas they kept it black and red. You know, I'm not sure what the spec offerings were, but that's how this car ended up. And same thing in the rear, the bumper, whereas it, you know, seems to rise up into the plate with the black. We like the way the black again appears painted, just appears finished. And it's my first Porsche 911 in a sense. I've never had a Porsche, but you always understood that the design is what you chase, the art of the car. It is clean, you know, like curves. I don't really like angles. And then you start realizing everything more or less is active, you know. So this right here is the out. It's left and right of the exhaust. But this is air after it goes through your intercooler. And your intercooler is basically, you know, more or less it's housed right down there. So you say, that's pretty cool. The air's getting run right up, forced right in there. And this, you know, I like the way this aero kit came. You see the black accent, whereas on that scoop for the intercooler, you see the wing itself. You like the way this here is all blacked out. Pretty cool. And then you see the taillight itself, the brake light. You see the housing of that is also black. So it's nice that it's broken up with the black, I guess. That's how I feel. It's pretty much what I'm trying to tell you there. We like the way the roof line carried the black paint with the sunroof. I like this black trim. Pretty clean. I like these black mirrors. I say, wow, it's just enough black that makes sense. So it's a pretty clean spec. Now, I don't know, you know, what the difference is between, you know, the spec of 25 versus 26 offerings and whatnot, but this spec was pretty clean. I was able to go right in there and harvest up on, you know, what feels like, I know it's a German car, but it still feels like an American dream, guys, you know? I just like the curves. It just makes sense to me. Needless to say, if you want, we'll cold start this. Show you a little bit about what's happening. And then we'll try to introduce you to what I'm saying it kind of reminds me of. So like I said, they got this 3.6 liter. I guess they stroked it and whatnot, and it's supposed to be a whole new engine. It does sound good. It sounds like it has more, you know, the tone's just more dense. When you hit the exhaust valve, you know, you don't really hear the difference under $4,000. Life's kind of clean under $4,000. After $4,000, you realize it's not a Toyota Camry really. Before $4,000, it kind of reminds you, it's pretty clean. It drives nice. The suspension seems to take things, as you would expect. And then a little more so, as a convenience for like an everyday ride. But that is something. Then, as far as the sports car, after $4,000, you gotta kind of hold on to yourself, make sure you know what you're doing. It's a whole nother ride. It gets loud, very aggressive, so cool. But we will more or less set you up for a cold start. And you like the door handle too. That's pretty cool. But we'll set you up for a cold start here. Yeah. In all its glory. The exhaust valve's open to where it is, it gets a little more dense. I'm going to say you can't hear that if you stop again, but once you open it up past $4,000, you do appreciate the difference in the exhaust. It is properly tuned to everything after $4,000, and that's what's impressive. You got a tuned exhaust. Whereas, it goes through that ECU and things are managed. And they were designed to get together, it seemed, after $4,000. Because after $4,000, it is quite loud. It's pretty cool. But it remains very tight, very cleanly engineered. Like anything else I really had ever driven. And it does have a lot of meats on the back, 315s. But my wife's car's got 325s. I mean, I think that's as much meat as you can get. But really clean. Put you inside for a moment. We'll back up. But we'll introduce you to what I feel it is that has been introduced to the 911. So I guess they introduced it in 25. This is a 26. But that introduction basically kind of like pretty clean, pretty simple. Really nice idea. It gives a lot of horses and torque and no dead spot. No weakness to the, it's just so smooth and linear, the curve. So here we are, guys.
Call for your free consultation. There are no upfront fees.
And what we will do is we'll back out of here. That's. All I can say about that is, it's my first time with one of those. I mean, it's real crisp and clean. It's, you can't help but to say, it's cute for whatever that is, but I suppose you're only there for a moment. After that, you have choices. You can paddle. You can do whatever you want to do, I suppose. But we'll back this thing up. We did set this so it does take care of that ignition issue, whereas it shuts off every time you blink your eye because we're in normal mode. I did program it in the PCM. I did program it, whereas I'm in sport mode. it's off always. Yeah, that's interesting. So you see me back up there? You didn't feel that, of course, you weren't holding on to the wheel, but yeah, the car's got a lot going on, whereas, you know, it's designed to do certain things. Park is just a cute little button right there. You just hit that, it's in park. It's hard to trust, hard to believe, but that's what you did. We'll get out. We'll kind of introduce you to what I feel it is pretty simple. You know, Porsche got this 3.6 liter flat six, and they said, you know, we need to do something as we go ahead and get choked by emissions. I think what we'll do is kind of turn it into, you know, a good thing, whereas we can reach for more power to compensate for that restriction. Nice door panel. I mean, it's like, inlay is awesome, stitching is awesome. I don't know if this is real leather. It does feel like it, you know, really good quality. I'm not sure I ever had a door panel that was wrapped like that. Dash is wrapped, really clean with the carbon fiber. You know, the switches, nice detail. You know, I don't miss anything when I look at that, because that's all I've ever gotten. Like I said, my first Porsche. I like the flexibility in that. You know, I'm used to that. My wife's car's got that. My wife's car's got a similar process to this, whereas there's no more belts, alternator. You know, you get a generator instead. It's packed between it's in your drivetrain, between your tranny and your motor. Regens for you, charges your system. My wife's car's got the same, but this has that, you know, that in the PDK it has that electric motor that's powered by, you know, that 400 volt system. So there, you know, you get some more horsepower. I don't know if it's 54 horse, 100 and change for torque out of that. You know, what's in the PDK there, what they sandwiched in there for an electric motor, but that runs off that 400 volt system. It helps charge that system. And then, you know, the simple side of it is they said, well, how do we, you know, there's an example where they obtained some horsepower and torque, and they were able to manage that because that's instant. They say it's like a completely fully active system, meaning it's always, seems like it probably is always on regen, so it's always right there ready to give you your quick horsepower and that early stage of your request. Needless to say, there it is. That's what you get. That's what it sounds like. You know, I like it because I know what it turns into. So with that being said, you know, they put that motor in the PDK, give you that little bit more horse, a little more torque, helps you with, you know, the dead spot of a turbo. And then they said, well, that's not enough. Let's go ahead and get the turbo, and let's manage it with that. I think they say that's a 40 kilowatt system up there. Let's manage it with that 40 kilowatt system, and let's put basically a motor and split the turbo in half, and let's put a motor in there so we can use that voltage and twist that in the early stages where you don't have enough exhaust volume to spin your turbo, you know, which, you know, it's where lag begins, basically. So they said, we'll put this electric motor and we'll solve that problem. And that basically what it feels like is Porsche basically put a SURRON. It's got a SURRON kit. That's what it feels like, which is pretty genius. Plus the battery in the Porsche is a lot more expensive than that battery. Probably a whole different set of engineering and reliability aspects, but the simple side of it is it's a 21 kilowatt battery. Spinning that motor gives that dirt bike its go. So it's SURRON has that package, and it just feels like, to me, it's a SURRON kit for a Porsche 911, and that's what the T-Hybrid's all about. T-Hybrid basically is a SURRON kit. So the SURRON, actually, in my mind, that I had gotten, it's a 25, I think, and I customized it a little bit. But I think the SURRON in this Porsche, they do have themselves in common, which was strange to me, you know. But yet, when you drive it, you know, as far as, you know, nothing. All you know is you got to pay a lot of attention, in a sense, because when you drive it, you know nothing about that drive system. It just feels just so clean, so lineal. The torque is insane. There is no dead spot. You don't think you're driving a turbo car. Even my pickup truck over there, it is, you know, it's a turbo diesel. When I had first gotten that, first thing you relate to and get used to is it It has dead spot. Every turbo is gonna have a dead spot. No more dead spot, which is, you know, a good thing, because you got a very clean lineal curve that you can micromanage with power. So basically, it's my first Porsche. It is something. It's shocking. I can't really describe this or review this car in words at this point, only because it is that overwhelming performance for which is in the engineer. You feel the engineering. There's no play pretend. You know, you feel the engineering of what's happening. Even you look at the glass. You look at the joint on the glass. You say, "Wow, look at that. That's something." Everything about it. It's just a very, very clean vehicle. All the glass. Look at the joints. It's crazy. And the windshield. That, I don't even know what you got going on. Some kind of beautiful gasket or some kind of cool clean. I mean, I've never seen a windshield this cleanly installed to any vehicle in my entire life. Simple things, right, guys? Yeah. Door handles are cool. We like that. You just do one of those deals, and you got a flushy. I like that. I like the flushy. It's 21s in the front, 22s in the back. It's on flushy. You just touch, and you go for it. So, you know, I didn't get to show you, but the door panel impressed me because it is that, you know, it's just so well done and refined. And that's not plastic, that's aluminum. You see, wow, that's so cool. It's some kind of inlay of alternate materials here. The Alcantara with your red. I like that way it was so simple and monochromatic, black and red. And that's what kind of, you know, grabbed me. And I got another car that's black and red, actually. So let's say we like the way there's no chrome, everything's blacked out. It just kind of spoke to me and said, wow, it is everything that you would do. We got this nice matte finish here on this. It's just well done as far as the details, you know, leather wrapped steering column. You know, that's something I said. Needless to say, even the steering wheel, see how you see through? Whereas this is, you know, it's not solid. It's all metal, it's all aluminum. It's really something. Then, you know, you got this GT3 here on the bottom to coordinate with that package you have. Back side of that is the heated steering wheel, apparently. Console, so well refined. You like the way that the shifter mechanism is on a raised block of aluminum. It says 911 on the bottom. It's pretty cool, pretty clean, pretty amazing quality. You know, how'd they do that? Back seat looks like good for, you know, your kid and whatnot. Red seat belts. You got the red also stitching on the seats. Same accent in the seat as you do on the door. Alcantara. You know, a lot of adjustability there. You know, you got it all. You got side lumbar, you got everything, side bolsters, you got lumbar, top, bottom, everybody's home, you could say, in that aspect. Passenger seat, the same. Of course, you know, you take someone for a ride, they'll never know what to do. But Porsche is smart. You go in the PCM, you can go ahead and turn your controls into the adjustability controls for that seat, so you can make sure your passenger is as comfortable as you. Pretty cool. I thought that was cool. This seat, this extends forward, you know, and back. It's just really good quality. Everything, even here, you see the pad. If you were a knee rubber, it's got a nice pad. It's raised, it's separated, alternate materials in there. All matte finish. Only high gloss is what you see there. I don't mind that. I think that looks good. It is very clean. As far as the design and detail, and that's not something that, it's not something you're really used to. Something that crisp and something that clean and something that well designed. You know, so whatever the dollar is that you pay for this, you know, I can probably share that with you at some point, but getting all in with some PPF, some ceramic coat, taxes, you know, how you roll out the dealership. You know, is it worth it, that value?
after driving it and experiencing it, I got to put 600 miles in the last 3 weeks. The answer is yes. In life, you do get what you pay for, and these guys, they do have it figured out. It's just a classy sports car. It's just clean and crisp, and you do, like I said, curves. So it is somewhat overwhelming to drive it. We'll get into, you know, some words about it as I get in the future when I can find them. Right now, it's pretty difficult. I'm still going through the experience. You got nice barrels. Really, really nice. No gloss. One bug now is that it's cool and clean. You know, of course it is that I did not get to pick the color in a sense, so it is that just came up at a dealer. Where am I? This is probably late September. I did communicate early in February, waiting for this to come in. And it came in, sat there for 3 to 5 days, and then I went and looked at it. Kind of had to do what I had to do before it wasn't available. And at that point, he said, I can't get another aero kit. I guess that selection and ordering doesn't exist for a moment. I don't know why, but basically, there is common ground between a SURRON and Porsche's half of Porsche's T-hybrid system. So the turbo half. So where they get the power from, and you know, and how they manage that turbo is what I feel is a little SURRON kit in my mind. Nice job, guys. Very creative. And I imagine as emissions chase the world, I'm pretty sure that flat six turbo with that engineering, pretty sure that's the future of horsepower. I don't know how we get away from it. I'm pretty sure this is it. This is a standard that's been established, and this is how it's done. My wife's car gets it done, Mercedes, with an AMG package. It's GLE 53. It gets it done, but it uses that voltage not to manage the turbo. It's a turbo car, but turbo SUV, but it uses it to manage a small supercharger as well. So it is, instead of managing the, you know, the turbo with that, it manages a supercharger with that. So nice job, Mercedes. Again, no, the turbo lag, it seems like that eliminated it. So anything you can use to delete turbo lag just gives you more lineal. It's just cleaner. And there it is. You know, there's the beak. There's the lights. I mean, it's just really nice materials up there. Let's not pretend. You go inspect and you check it for fit and finish. It's not your average componentry there. I mean, it is every aspect of quality. It's something. So I'm pretty happy at this point. We'll continue to drive it, put some miles on it. But there it is, 2026 GTS T-Hybrid, otherwise known as a SURRON kit. Thanks, guys.